We've been hoping you would try to play that card. Because what will she say after that? We're not sending any money to Washington, D.C. either. And you play that power grab. You play the money game with them. And you want to have the richest state in the union? Stop sending your money to Washington, D.C. where you're paying for all the destruction and corruption, you know? And then you'll be. Everybody will want to move here and live here. I'll move here, you know? I love Texas anyway. So the next page, Scalia takes us even further. He takes us even further. This separation of the two spheres, remember we called this spheres. This separation of the two spheres is one of the Constitution's structural protections of liberty. That we keep the states separate from the federal government, and that they're protecting us from the incursions of the federal government is one of the Constitution's structural protections of liberty. Then he goes on. He's still quoting Madison. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. End quote. The different governments will control each other. Now, folks, just two things quickly in closing. One of my favorite quotes, or not one, my favorite quote from this decision that made all this roller coaster ride that it took my family on, and everything we lost on this. You know, I have copies of the Supreme Court decision over at my desk. This is it. This is a monumental landmark decision on the 10th Amendment. I've even had lawyers call me about this case from the ACLU, saying this was the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. I have them back on the table, some of these copies for $5. Do you know how much this thing cost? $300,000. So make a donation for that. You know what? We did. Some people did. This wasn't free. And as I studied this case that was completely hidden from you, Sheriff Prince and I were invited to be on Meet the Press the Sunday after this decision came up. On Friday, they called and canceled us. We never went. NBC sent reporters out, did this big old thing about the case and everything else, canceled it, never aired it. We got all sorts of press, I promise you, we got all sorts of press until we won. And it was shut down, big time, very conspicuously. And so this is what, this one line, one sentence from the case made it all worthwhile. And I hope this is something that you'll all remember, and it's on page 36 of the book, okay? It's in there. Quote, but the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Did you hear that? But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power as one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. End quote. Now, Janet Reno issued a memo to all sheriffs after we won and police chiefs, telling that this was a token victory for the NRA, that our victory was, and that they should ignore it, that it changed nothing. It was meaningless, and just keep doing what you're doing. This case is meaningless unless we use it. Just like the rest of the Constitution, it's meaningless unless we apply it. If we don't have state and local officials who apply the Constitution, it's all meaningless. It really doesn't matter what we do. It's all meaningless. We've lost our Constitution. And what is our Constitution? It is the bulwark and blueprint for freedom of this country. It is our foundation. If you destroy the foundation, the rest of the building falls. And that's what our country's doing. We don't have to watch our country die anymore. We don't have to continue with this death. America is on her deathbed. And she needs CPR, and we can give it to her. Constitutional principled resuscitation. And that's up to us. Let's give her the CPR right away. Now, Can this go down? Can this go down the front of the steps?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. All right, that's all I need. When I was a police officer, I went to a training entitled Constitutional Studies for Law Enforcement Officers. And the instructor there was a man that I'll never forget. He's my mentor. His name was Dr. Cleon Skousen. I hope some of you read his books. He did the 5,000 Year Leap, but that day he was doing the Making of America, and I learned about the Making of America. And while we were there, he taught 240 big tough cops a kindergarten exercise that I like to call America's Political Prayer. And I close every one of my speeches with it, and with every ounce of dedication that I have in my soul to each of you, to my kids and my grandkids. I'll tell you real quickly, my first grandchild was born 3.5 years ago. It was on the 4th of July. And her name is Liberty. Liberty LaDawn Hardy. And I've taught this to her, and I'll share it with you as dedication to the Founding Fathers, dedication to each one of you, and dedication to American principles, that we too might once again live in a free country. And this hope and prayer goes like this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the principles of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And that's the eagle. Long may she be free. My fellow Texans and Americans, it's up to you and me. Thank you. God bless.